All right, we should be up on the TotalBoat YouTube now. We'll give it a minute to see who wants to hop in here. We're going to do a live Micarta Layup demonstration. I have some supplies set out in front of us here that we're going to be using shortly. And we will walk through the whole process here. So give me one moment. I just want to grab my Leatherman, which is over here somewhere. Leatherman tool I just had. Did I leave it there? I just need it, or just a flathead screwdriver. Oh, it's right here. I got it. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Tonight, like I said, we are going to be doing a live Micarta layup demonstration. At the end of it, we're going to do a giveaway for a kit to make your own micarta so you can follow this process. If you need to go back and watch the video to follow this process, this will be on the TotalBoat YouTube channel. You can go back and watch it in full. We'll start off with, why is my hair blue? Great question, because it is. Because TotalBoat is blue, so I'm blue. Why not? We need a few supplies to do our micarta layup here. We're going to start off with a mold. We're doing this real simple here. There are difficult or more complex ways to do this with vacuum bags and all kinds of other fun toys, but we're going to do it with a simple mold, some clamps, and we're going to press it all together to get our micarta. We need a fabric of some kind to do our micarta with. In this case, we're using a paper, any textile really. We have done micarta here with all kinds of material like burlap, even like almost like an Afghan material. This is a burlap micarta in my wallet, but this is a simple construction paper micarta layup. These are used typically for knife scales. We're going to see micarta used a lot, but it is a very basic but very strong and easy to do at home composite material. Really, just to break down what we mean by composite material, we're taking two dissimilar materials that have less strength or different properties on their own, and when we put them together, they have new properties and they're a little bit stronger. Carbon fiber, like race cars and race boats and stuff, are made out of all composite materials, but so is just this construction paper with a little bit of epoxy. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to be safe and put some gloves on. Always, always, always wear gloves when working with epoxy. Stuff is not great to have skin contact with, so always want to be careful. We need a cup to measure it in here. In this case, for our layup, I think we're going to go to the 2 line here. So I'm not sure if you could see this or not, but there's a scale in here. Under 2 to 1, we're going to go with number 2, and then for the 1 ratio to the number 2 as well. And that gets us the right ratio as we set this up. Sorry?
Show how the numbers are at the top of that column.
So at the top, we have 1 to 1, 2 to 1, 3 to 1, 4 to 1, so on. So you can see that this is a 2 to 1 epoxy system. So we are sticking with the 2 to 1 ratio right here on the cup. Start with our resin. I'm going to fill that up to 2. Ooh. Resin will make a mess everywhere. We expect to make a mess today, and that's okay. So we have our resin up to the 2 line. Kristen, do we have any comments or questions on Instagram?
Going to all the things.
And we are using
Micarta. This is a micarta layup, yes.
Yep. This is a micarta layup for sure.
Spell it like that with a C. M-I-C-A-R-T-A.
You got it. All right. We're using the TotalBoat 2 to 1 high performance epoxy with a slow hardener. The slow hardener gives us enough work time to do our micarta layup. We do want about 25 or 30 minutes of work time. We're going to be pouring it out into something a little bit more shallow so we can get a little more pot life out of it. But we're going to mix it right here for about 3 minutes. You don't want to go any less. More is not going to hurt you. It's just going to take away from your work time. As we mix, we want to scrape the sides and bottom. And for those of you just joining, since we're still kind of just getting started here, we are doing a live micarta layup demonstration. This is how to make micarta at home with very minimal materials. And again, we're just using construction paper, a mold. And this particular mold is made out of melamine board. This stuff is like 30 bucks a sheet at the home goods center, whatever you want to call it, whatever your favorite store is, the blue one, the orange one, or the green one. Cut it up into a mold with a platen that nests inside of it, and then we can compress it all together with a couple basic F-clamps. Now I have these super heavy duty ones, and I have broken lower duty, light duty, less duty clamps with this before. But truthfully, if you're not going crazy, the Harbor Freight clamps will be just fine. You don't need anything special.
Talk about reusing epoxy cups.
Yeah, we can cover.
Question.
Okay, there's a question on Instagram, it sounds like, about reusing epoxy cups. You certainly can reuse these. These are made out of, I believe these are LDPE. Any polyethylene plastics do not bond to epoxy. So when this is done and cured, we can just kind of squeeze the sides and pop the bottom out, and we will have a reusable cup.
The tip is to leave this.
Yeah, leave the stick in. Kristen said that. Leave the stick in the cup because it gives you kind of a handle to pull it out with. That said, sometimes it's hard to get them 100% clean. So maybe it's not great to use them for varnish or anything like that. Again, if you're doing epoxy that needs to be super duper crystal clear, maybe not the best place to reuse your cup. But if you just need some places to put screws and stuff, you need some organization and storage, you can certainly reuse your leftover epoxy cups once you empty them out. So our mix is getting pretty close here, still scraping the sides and bottom of our cup to make sure we don't have any unmixed epoxy. Unmixed epoxy is bad epoxy, and it won't cure if we don't fully mix it. Kristen, you should be able to pull the...
Hey guys, what are we using micarta for?
I did mention that earlier. So, okay, what do we use micarta for? Micarta is a plate like this. You can see one here that's finished, and I'll show you this more when we're finished our actual layup.
Other than that.
So I can't reach into my pocket because I have epoxy on my hands right now, but I have a wallet with scales made out of micarta. You certainly can use it for knife handles, but if you have other uses. I just mentioned the wallet. Oh, you have yours?
Yep.
We have Skip here.
You see it?
And yep, that's right in frame. Perfect. So that's a wallet made out of a construction paper micarta.
It has $1 back.
Skip flexing here.
There we go.
Let's put it in the Instagram.
All right, we are mixed here. We've got one more thing that we need to do, and that's our wax our mold. This hand, at least anyway, is clean still. So just pop the lid off of our wax.
It has a micarta wallet.
Get a little bit of mold release wax and a rag. We're just going to rub material here with wax. This will help it release. This stuff releases pretty well as it is. That's why I kind of like this super cheap board here, because it does have that plastic coating that makes it an easy release. But we want to give ourselves an easier time removing our micarta so we don't hurt ourselves. These molds are a one-time use. You're pretty much going to have to destructively take apart this mold, and that's okay. I have made nicer ones with polypropylene, but that polypropylene is very expensive, and I still only got about 4 or 5 uses out of it before it was time to throw that mold away. All right, so we have our mold waxed. I have a paint tray here. And I'm going to put this sideways so maybe you can see what I'm doing a little bit better. I have an epoxy spreader, and when you buy certain epoxy kits from TotalBoat.com, you get these in the box with it, which is nice. We're going to spread our epoxy out in our tray here. I don't want to leave any in this cup because it'll start to kick really quickly, being a larger volume in a smaller space. So we spread it out here. This helps extend our work time and gives us a better way to get our epoxy on the paper. We're wearing gloves here, remember, and absolutely, again, cannot state enough, do not do this without wearing gloves because you are going to get it all over the place and you are going to just really have to get into it. We'll start with our paper and we're going to start layering it up. It's real easy here. Just kind of scoop that epoxy in there and work it all over. All right, there we go. This sheet is totally flooded in epoxy, and that's going to be the first one to go into our mold. Now, you don't have to get so much on every single sheet. We're going to flood every couple sheets and just kind of spread it around a little bit on follow-up sheets there. We have a second one in, and I'm going to do one more before we start spreading things out a little bit in our mold. So let me get the first set of paper in, and then we'll start taking questions a little more regularly here. So I got a little more epoxy on there. And now we're going to pick up our little spudger here, our spreader. And we're going to kind of squeegee it out. You can I think you can see it pretty well on camera on YouTube anyway. I hope you can kind of make this out on Instagram. If you're following this on the Makers Camp Instagram, you can also follow on the TotalBoat YouTube if you want that tighter camera angle so you can see what I'm doing a little bit better, and then you can go back and watch it later, which is nice. So you can see, looks like we're a little out of focus. Come on, there you go. Yep, you can see we have a whole bunch of epoxy flooded in here. We don't really need to add a lot more for our next layer because we have a bunch kind of flooded in. So I'm going to just grab this sheet here, lay it in as it is, and use the spreader to make sure it's completely coated and flooded. So you notice I'm doing this to squeeze all the air in there and kind of tamp this down into our mold. Get our next sheet. This one's going to get a little bit of epoxy, but not a whole lot, since we still have some left flooded in there. All right, we got our first 5 sheets in. Let's spread these out a little bit more, and we'll take some questions. Is there anyone with any questions out there on Instagram or YouTube? I see thumbs up from Graz. Graz, thank you for joining. Graz is our videographer and editor
We
here.
don't need Graz. Everything's fine without you, Graz. Everything's fine.
Everything. Kristen's messing with the camera saying we don't need you, Graz.
We need you.
We're kidding. But Graz is our videographer and editor here at Narwhal Labs, which this is a good opportunity to talk about where I am. So I know a lot of you are following this from the TotalBoat side of things, and you know us as TotalBoat. But we have a new little venture going on here, and that is Narwhal Labs. And that's our makerspace here at TotalBoat headquarters in Bristol, Rhode Island. This is a space that is officially, as of this past week, open to the public. We have our first members already. And this is a makerspace where you can come in and use all the tools and equipment we have here. We have 3D printers. We have a laser cutter, CNC routers, plus traditional woodworking tools, vinyl cutters, and All you can mix, I suppose, TotalBoat epoxy bar, plus all of our finishes and stuff too. So if you live in the area and you want to come visit our makerspace, you are more than welcome to stop by. If you want to become a member, we have a discount right now. It's $20 a month. However, we are appointment only. So we are using the space for other stuff. And we also need to be careful about the number of people that are in here. We want to be safe. So you can become a member for $20 a month. You can book appointments to come on in and use our tools and equipment.
Can you talk about what this might cost to do this?
What this might cost. So you need a few things. Like I said, I think you can buy this by the quarter sheet at Home Depot for probably around $10, $15. I think it's $30 to $35 for a full sheet of this melamine board. Construction paper is so cheap, it's probably not even worth talking about the cost. So maybe $1. And then the other big deal you need really is an epoxy kit. In this case, we're using TotalBoat high performance epoxy with slow hardener. And the price varies depending on how much you get, but I believe the smaller kits, Kristen, can you confirm a price on a quart kit of 2-to-1 slow retail? I want to say that quart kit is pretty. $59.99 for a quart kit of TotalBoat high performance epoxy with slow hardener.
But we're going to give some away at the end.
That's right. At the end of this, we are doing a giveaway. We're going to give you all the supplies, including a mold to make your own micarta. You're going to have everything you need to do this yourself at home. Oh, I forgot. You need a pair of clamps, 2 of those with a coupon at Harbor Freighter, like $4. So I think the most expensive thing here is the epoxy, and even that's not too bad. So you can be into this and make probably a couple dozen plates of micarta with all those supplies for under $100. So pretty reasonable. So I'm kind of, I was taking my time a little bit here. We're going to speed up. For any of you who are just tuning in, we're doing a micarta layup demonstration. And again, micarta is a very simple, basic composite material consisting of an epoxy resin and some sort of substrate like a fabric, or in this case, paper. We're using construction paper, just colored construction paper. We have 10 layers here. Our goal is to have about 25 before our epoxy starts to kick. We have about 30 minutes of work time from when I first mixed it up. Setting time before you can work with it. So the high performance with the slow hardener has about a 30-minute work time, and you can demold approximately a day later. If you can wait longer, longer is better. I think the full cure time properly is about 3 days, but you can demold and you have a near finished product in about a day. All right, we need a little bit more epoxy. We're running out in our mold here. So scoop some on our paper, really just work it in there. We're using our hands with gloves, of course, to just kind of spread this epoxy around. We've done micarta layups here with more fancy tools as well, using a vacuum pump and a vacuum bag system, which is a really great way to get a good layup and make sure there's no air pockets in it. But this is super easy and inexpensive using these molds made out of melamine board. And we've gotten super consistent results with it. So I definitely recommend this. Low investment. Oh, we got one that's stuck up here, and this is something that can happen during your layup. So I'm going to pull up that last sheet and fix one that slid a little bit out of the way. There we go. Yep, seen someone using wire screen laminated this way. Yeah, you certainly can. It might be a little bit harder to cut and work with. One thing that we're going to do is when we're finished here, we're going to cut out this finished micarta layup on our laser here to show you an example of something you can do with it. And I don't know that the wire mesh would work too well with that. So if you're going to cut it on a laser, I would probably stick with cotton or paper of some kind, cotton, wool, or paper as a layup material. Still plenty of epoxy in there.
If you just joined, we're doing an epoxy micarta layup with construction paper and TotalBoat's high performance epoxy with the slow hardener. Making a plate of micarta that looks like this.
Don't show that side.
Okay. And you can do a bunch of stuff with micarta. He's going to cut it on the laser. At the end here, we're going to show you some examples of things that have been made with micarta. Knife handles, wallets, a bunch of stuff you can do. You can use different materials in your layup. And this is basically how it works with fiberglass too. If you were to be creating plates for sheets of fiberglass or putting fiberglass around your boat, you're just soaking the sheets of fiberglass in epoxy resin, or sometimes polyester resin.
Yep, and just for those on YouTube that can't hear Kristen, going through the live mic here, yep. Kristen behind the camera here was explaining that this layup process is very similar to what you would do for a fiberglass layup or other composite layups for marine or other applications. Especially for you knife makers out there who have bought G10 scales or made G10 scales. Same concept, except for instead of construction paper or a linen of some kind, you're using sheets of fiberglass and making a plate out of it.
Yeah, and the plate or the layers with the epoxy in there give it strength. So that's why you would want. How many layers do you think you'll end up doing here?
25 total is the plan.
Okay.
It compresses down quite a bit, so that 25 layers or so is going to get you maybe an 1/8 inch plate. So if you've ever seen, the leftover cured epoxy, and have handled it, you know that it's pretty brittle and can snap easily. And we all know paper can tear very easily. It's not very strong in your hands unless you layer it up quite a bit. And what we're doing is we're taking the best properties of each of these two materials, one being epoxy resin and the other being paper, and we put it together so when we lay up a whole bunch of sheets of paper, A, it's not going to tear, and B, it has some of the hardness characteristics of epoxy resin. And they meet kind of somewhere in the middle where you end up with a very strong material that doesn't weigh a whole lot. And that's really the goal of all composite. If you think of carbon fiber layup, it's very, very strong because you have that nice woven fiber, carbon fiber, meeting epoxy.
Oh, someone's saying they've seen, Tuba Man says he's seen people use denim for this, and is that something different? I think Peter Brown did that.
Yep, denim, it's the same thing, same process, just different fabric. In this case, our fabric is paper.
Actually, yeah.
Right? I mean, but at the end of the day, it's It's the exact same process. In my pocket, which I can't get to at the moment because I'm a bit covered in epoxy. I lost track. What was the last color I did? I think the purple. All right.
Peter Brown does have an excellent video, so shout out to
Yes.
Peter Brown here to go watch his denim micarta video. And he's done a couple micarta layups.
And if you, on YouTube, just to reiterate what Kristen was saying, if you can't hear her, Peter Brown has great micarta videos. I think one thing he did that was pretty popular that took off was he took Adam Savage's Every Tool's a Hammer book, cut all the pages out into the shape of a hammer. I'm sorry, he laid up all the pages in it as a giant micarta layup and then cut them out in the shape of a hammer. So he took Adam Savage's Every Tool's a Hammer book and turned it into a hammer using this same exact micarta layup process with epoxy resin and paper. And they took the hammer in Adam's shop and they actually hammered a nail in with it, which kind of gives you a little bit of a testament to the strength of a paper micarta.
It's a question about, will this micarta be something similar to color plywood?
Gotcha. So I think what you're talking about is the SpectraPly stuff. A lot of pen turners use it. It's similar to what's used in some skateboard stuff. SpectraPly plywood, it is still a wood material. It's just dyed veneer layers. The process they use to make it, probably not that dissimilar, but they're using different glues. And again, they're using those thicker wood veneer layers. So while the general concept of plywood versus micarta I guess the big view is kind of the same, the material is very different.
So you can rewatch Jeff's stream here and his micarta process on our YouTube channel after this event, and probably on the Makers Camp channel and the Narwhal.
I don't know if it's going to be up on Narwhal Labs. I can probably post it over there. See if I can download it and post it there. But I'm not sure what the Makers Camp plan is for the weekend. I'll put all the live streams up. They might put them up as highlights. So again, to reiterate the process for anyone that may have hopped in a little later here, is we are taking TotalBoat high performance epoxy with slow hardener and setting it up in layers in this melamine board mold using this really basic spreader, plastic spreader, to make a composite material. We're going on our last 3 sheets here. We're going to do this, 1 more of these, and 1 green. I have 1 extra there. Either I skipped a layer or something, who knows. But we're just going to do 3 more layers, and then we're going to press this down. We're getting low on epoxy here, which is good. That means we measured the right amount that we need. Nothing wrong with that. We got some puppies in the background that maybe you can hear.
Roz wants to know if it's your carta or my carta.
Graz.
Answer you, Graz. It's your carta. No, it's his carta. Roz carta.
Am I going to have to sing My Sharona and put micarta in place of the name?
Please do that. I
No.
think you could break the internet or the camera.
Probably just break the camera. Getting to the end here. We got 1 more layer after this one. Just make sure this one floods out. I can feel that there's some air pockets in here. I'm not that worried about it though. You want to get the worst of it out. But when we put our melamine sheet on top of this and clamp it down, any of that air is gone. it's coming out. By the way, I do want to point out around the edge of our melamine, I did put a bead of hot glue on any seams. This is going to leak. We're putting a bunch of epoxy under pressure, and it is going to leak. So you do want to kind of cover that with something. If you want to use silicone, that's fine, but hot glue is easy and goes on quick and peels off easily.
The cost for this gallon kit right there is
The cost is $59.
$160.
Oh, for the gallon kit.
Specifically for this is called the gallon kit. That's a high performance epoxy, and it's using the slow hardener, which is great for getting a longer working time. It's clear. It's good for shallow pouring.
Yep. So on YouTube, if you didn't hear that, that's about $160 for the gallon kit of TotalBoat high performance epoxy with slow hardener. Keep in mind that's a gallon of resin and a half gallon of hardener. So you have a gallon and a half of product there. And when you buy it from us on TotalBoat.com, you do get some extras thrown in with it. You're going to get spreaders and some mixing sticks and cups and stuff to make sure you have everything you need to do your project. So that's the last sheet we're going to do here. I think we're in good shape.
There's a question here. It's a good one.
Yeah.
Can you use polyester resin for the same process?
I suppose you could. Polyester resin smells awful. And for this hobby use, it's probably a little bit more challenging to work with. I'm not an expert on polyester resin, but this cures super clear and doesn't affect the color of our epoxy. I've had good results and done a few Micarta Layups with this, and I've been happy with it. But if you want to try it with your polyester resin,
this is low VOC.
That's true.
So you're not wearing a respirator.
Yep.
You're in a well-ventilated area.
Yep. So for sure. So that's on there.
Did you put any wax or anything on the bottom of the?
I did. This mold was waxed. I did do that in the very beginning. Kristen, could you grab me one more glove, please? My fresh ones got covered in epoxy. Everything gets covered in epoxy when you're doing micarta. That's just a given. Kristen's making it rain with gloves here. I know that's a flex. Making it rain with gloves right now. All right, so we have our lid that is waxed just like the rest of our mold. We're going to take our clamps. These are getting resin on them. You just kind of have to accept it. If you're worried about it, maybe it's best to just have a pair of clamps that you call your micarta clamps and they get resin on them, and that's just life.
Izzy Swan is asking if this will work with anything that epoxy will soak into, and yes. And we have some examples here of some burlap, some paper, some carbon fiber.
Yeah. How's it going, Izzy? Izzy, it's been a while, man. I miss you. I hope the world stops being a little crazy and we can meet up at one of these maker meetups again sometime. But yeah, you can use all kinds of different materials, not just paper, denim, flannel, burlap.
Here comes some
Here's a
examples.
whole bunch.
So
I got a bunch of examples, guys.
So this is Skip, and he works here as well. Just in case anyone's concerned about safety, Skip and I have been working together in this room for the past 6 months. So,
Yeah. So this is burlap with a black pigment in it.
Hold it there for a second. Oh, hold on. Keep it there. That's cool. Yeah, keep it there. I got that there.
Still keep it there?
Yeah. See how long you can hold your hand.
Perfectly so.
Yep.
So Skip apparently brought the arsenal of wallets here.
Yeah,
So
now
that
it's a
one's
real
burlap?
wallet flex.
That one's burlap.
This is burlap. Yeah, this is burlap with black pigment. Here's just some more construction paper. This is like all of the construction paper, normal construction paper colors. And then it's just milled. And since it's, the layup is never completely flat, you end up with these cool sort of designs and patterns. Here's one that's like, it was like, it's almost like polar fleece fabric that kind of looks like, I don't know, your grandma's Afghan when it was not wet out. But after it was wet out, I think it's super cool. It looks almost like some kind of weird multicolored marble type thing.
That's 2 pieces together there, right?
Yes, it is 2 pieces together.
So that's a wallet. That's
Yeah,
kind of a cool thing you could make with it.
Yeah, all of these are wallets. And then this one, I wish I could show you, but it's way too bright in here. But this is actually fiberglass, and you can you see my finger through it? Yeah, so see how you can see my finger through it? So it's relatively transparent. And this has glow-in-the-dark pigments in it. It actually glows blue in the dark.
So I mentioned G10 earlier. That would effectively be G10, but homemade.
Exactly. This is just plain brown burlap.
Yep, and that's what I showed you earlier. It's the same thing I've got in my pocket now, but we're going to make a new wallet in a few minutes.
And then this one is white canvas. It's like a natural canvas. This one feels nice. Canvas sort of has a cool texture to it when it's done. Unfortunately, it's not feel-o-vision, but all right, that's all I got.
Struggling with this. I'm sorry.
Did they see them all, Kristen?
Yes, yeah, that's
All
good.
right, cool.
I think, right? Everybody happy? That's your
Think so.
Yeah.
Kristen, can you take care of the Canon camera here? So we can pick up where we left off on the stream?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yep. There we are. All right. So we have our finished layup clamped in our mold here. This is going to make a mess. That's just how it is.
Want some more cups?
Yeah, just like a ketchup cup would be great, like a pair of ketchup cups. And we'll set this off to the side here.
Did you talk about squeezing it?
What was that?
Did you talk about squeezing it, the resin squeezing out a little bit on the top and stuff?
Yep, so there's going to be more resin in here than what the micarta takes, and it is going to squeeze out the top, and it will make a mess. Again, just part of the process. We're going to have to live with that. I'm going to move this a little bit off to the side. There's a couple of these ketchup cups just to keep it from falling over.
Izzy has more good questions.
Go ahead. What's up, Izzy?
He wants to know if there are any fabrics that we know that would have trouble with the epoxy, like a silk or.
Polyester is all good.
Right.
That was what the grandma's Afghan made out of.
So I don't know if you could hear that off camera there, Izzy, but polyester is okay. I would be wary of some synthetic fabrics, some plastic-based fabrics, but apparently polyester is okay.
And that was just trial and error. It worked fine. Silk, I've definitely had people ask about silk, but I've never tried it. I'd love to know if you try it.
All
It
right.
would be cool, especially like silk that's been like, dyed, or like Sumi Nagashi silk. That would be awesome. That's something that I've actually sort of been thinking about. Sumi Nagashi is like Japanese printing on water with inks. So you could like float the inks on water and then put the silk on top of it. And you sort of print that right off of it. And it's like crazy swirly designs.
Cool. So we have a finished plate that I did here using the same colors as we did during our layup and about the same amount of layers. This should be about 25 layers here. So we could see we've got the green on one side and we finished with the blue on the other. There's a couple little tiny air bubble spots, nothing too crazy. This layup went really well. It's nice and flat and consistent. And what we're going to do is we're going to sand this to kind of reveal a pattern in it. And we'll see how that goes here. Now, anytime you're sanding epoxy resins, you want to make sure you have good dust control. This is hooked up to a Festool HEPA vac. If you don't have that, you may want to wear some kind of a particulate respirator or mask. What one you buy and use is up to you, and your safety is your own responsibility, of course. But we have a HEPA vac hooked up to our Festool sander, and we're going to just give this a kiss for a few minutes and see what kind of patterns we get. Do I want a sanding pad? Yeah, I'll start here, and if you want to bring one over, we'll see how it goes. Thank you. So I'm not finished up here, but I figured I'd give you a kind of that in-between shot. And we're getting almost like an Earth Day pattern thing here going on. Little, Kristen, can you tap on the screen where this is? Oh, there it goes. It's focusing in. There we are. We got it. So you can kind of see what's going on here. We're getting kind of a gradient pattern of all the different layers. This one ended up being really flat, so we're getting a really consistent sanding with it compared to some other micarta layups, which is probably desirable for strength, but I think we're not getting as good of a pattern as I'd like. We'll keep sanding a little bit on this side. We'll flip it over and see what we get. Sorry, what was that?
Doug from Pole Barn is asking what we're giving away. Hi, Doug.
Hey, Doug. So what we're giving away is all the epoxy and a mold and some paper to make your own micarta at home. So we're giving you everything you need to do this at home and make your own. When we're finished here, I'm going to cut a wallet out of this on our laser. You don't have to have a laser at home to make that. I'll send you the files you need, and you can print off just a template and cut it out on a scroll saw or bandsaw, all the same. So what we're doing is we're sanding this. If you're just catching this now, we're taking our micarta layup that's finished, and we're just sanding some layers off to get some neat patterns out of it. I feel like this is almost like a river with some. Did I just make river micarta?
River micarta.
I think I just made river micarta. Kind of the same deal going on over here, and we just get these neat patterns that I think are pretty cool anyway. We did answer over on Instagram, but just again, looks like Kristen, you already replied on YouTube, but just to be totally sure, yes, you can use almost any fabric with this. Skip, who was just on camera a few minutes ago, was saying he even got it to work with polyester, which was just fine. I would still be a little wary of some synthetic fabrics. Synthetic fabrics may not stick terribly well to epoxy. Definitely had good luck with paper here, had good luck with canvas and burlap, and Skip said that he had good luck with polyester as well. So this process is cheap though, right? Once you have the resin, you're not using a whole ton of it. The mold's inexpensive. Experiment. Try a few different materials. Maybe you'll get different patterns you like, and who knows? Foil. So yeah, you could use aluminum foil, I suppose. It's not absorbing it. You might get a mechanical bond between the layers, but I wouldn't expect it to be very strong. That's
Somebody try it out. Let us know.
yeah.
We'll try it.
I definitely try it. Yeah, I think you probably just don't squeeze it really hard. And
Right.
a decent amount of epoxy. I think if it got suspended in there, I think EDS Boxymore would suggest you sprinkle it. I think you actually really cool.
Yeah, so there's some suggestions about doing aluminum foil as a layup. And what Skip was saying off camera, I agree too, is don't squeeze it out too much. I don't know that you could call it a true micarta anymore. It's more like foil suspended in resin. It wouldn't truly be a micarta, but I'm not going to judge you.
This will work.
There's probably micarta nerds, but
This will work with 2-to-1 in any of the hardeners, the high performance and the slow, medium, or fast hardener. It'll work with Maker Epoxy. It will work with tabletop. We chose this because it's a thinner epoxy and it'll absorb more easily into the fibers of the paper.
So what Kristen is saying there, if you're on YouTube, is that if you couldn't hear that, you can do this with other epoxy systems if you have them. The high performance with a slow hardener is my preference. It gives me the right amount of work time, about half an hour of work time before it starts to kick off, which is enough to get, let's ballpark a minute a sheet to get it all squeezed out and laid up in there. So plenty of work time. It's really low viscosity, so it squeezes out nice and easily, where a thicker epoxy might give you a little bit of a hard time, but totally doable.
Are you going to cut it on the laser? Because you have 9 minutes.
I can definitely cut it on the laser, and let me just finish sanding. So I think I'm pretty happy with where this is. I'm going to go stick this in our laser and cut out our wallet scales. After that, when I'm finished up, probably off camera, I'm going to polish these. I'll keep going on YouTube here, but I know we have a time limit on Instagram. But I will polish these and see if we can get it to look kind of pretty, and go from there. So give me 1 minute. I'm going to head over to the laser. Kristen, you could probably just follow me with the phone over there if anyone wants to watch that. On YouTube, hang tight. I'll be right back. Probably 2 or 3 minutes. Just carry the whole tripod. Just close it up and carry it over. Oh, we got puppy dogs. All right, so we have our micarta in the laser here. Now, putting anything with epoxy into the laser, sometimes a little bit questionable. We do have good ventilation here, and again, all at your own risk. This is our laser, and we're going to give it a try. I know we've been able to cut it in here before. Should work okay now. I already have our file set up. Let's go. So you can see it kind of dropped out there, which means it definitely cut through, and it looks like we have a nice clean cut. Nope. Good. That's good. All right, so we got our scales. Let's head back over to the bench. Kristen, when you have that set up, quick, can you hand me the bag of silicone bands behind you? Did it drop off?
What do you want?
Just that bag of silicone bands. It's right there on the table. Perfect. All right, we have our micarta wallets cut out. I'll clean and polish these a little bit later, but just to give you an example, these are inexpensive, well, kind of inexpensive, about $10 for 5 of them. Silicone bands off of everyone's favorite web giant retailer.
Giveaway.
We are doing a giveaway quick. I am not going to give away the wallets because that's too easy. You got to make your own. But I'm going to give you a mold. I'm going to give you some resin and the tools that you need to do your own micarta layup. You'll just have to get your own F-clamps. And like I said, $4 at Harbor Freight will get you a pair of them. So the way we're going to do this, Price is Right rules. Before we started, I weighed this sheet of micarta. In its original weight, you have to guess what it was in grams. So how many grams was this sheet of micarta before we sanded and cut it? I have the number up here. You're going to have to take some guesses. So first person to guess the number, Price is Right rules.
Do you want to write it on the board?
I can write it down over there off camera just so we can have a little accountability. Do we have any guesses? So I'm going to keep this going pretty much until
46 grams. You got one guess. You got 1,200 grams. Guessing.
I think you're a little cool there at 1,200 grams. I'm just going to give you that hint. You want to go down from there. But weight in grams of the original piece before I sanded or cut it. I have it written down on the board over there, Price is Right rules. We're going to cut it off in 3 minutes at 7 p.m. Eastern sharp. So someone's got to guess it. Anyone on Instagram guessing?
The Instagram feed is different.
Yeah, no one yet.
We had a guess of 246, of 1,200, of 800, and of 225. Oh,
Nope. I see that on YouTube. No one on Instagram yet?
no.
Let's see if I can fix our Instagram thing quick.
You pick a different.
Instagram Live is going.
It's going. There's a delay. You can't tell because.
Super, super slow, but do you have the chat up there?
Toggle the Wi-Fi. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'll toggle Wi-Fi.
Go right here.
Okay, we have more guesses coming in here.
1 more minute to guess.
I did toggle Wi-Fi. It's not really any better here over on Instagram. I think my phone is overheating because it seems to be cooking quite a bit. What's that? My phone's overheating,
I bet that's what it is.
and my battery's at like 10%. It went from like 80% to 10.
Okay, let's, we got another couple guesses here. We got 25. Gizmo at play is keeps guessing different things.
You can't just keep throwing numbers out there. You could try, but Gizmo, I'm going to have to go with your first guess of 1,200. I can't just keep taking more. So again, it's 7 o'clock. I said I was going to cut it off. I'm going to figure out a way to give this away to the people on Instagram that missed out because of our issues.
Well, let's give away an extra gallon kit of epoxy also.
Okay,
Give
to
another
who?
one away. To, I don't know, we'll pick a winner.
All right. Well, here's what we'll do. We're going to do the Micarta giveaway that I did here. We'll do a second one, and we're going to give that away to somebody on Instagram. We'll figure out a way to do that over on the Makers Camp Instagram later.
The 10th comment, let's just, right now you want to say, pick a number, and it'll be that number comment. You haven't seen the comments, just pick.
On Instagram?
Yes, and it's,
So
just pick a number 1 through 20. Say it out loud.
what? Just I'm picking a random comment number off Instagram.
Yeah.
Sure. 14.
Okay.
14.
14th comment will get a message from us, and we'll put it here, and you will get a gallon of epoxy.
Can you grab who that 14th comment is? Because this might disappear afterward. All right. So playing Price is Right rules on YouTube. And again, Gizmo, you gave me a guess at first of 1,200, and unfortunately, that Minster. Okay. Well, it looks like if I just take anyone's first comment.
It was JLV Innovations was the 14th.
Okay, can you write that down, please?
Yep.
Well, I guess the first person to guess it.
That was for the gallon. You can pick your own record on the
So our winner, I guess for the Micarta, since I didn't specify, you shouldn't just keep entering. I guess it'll go to Gizmo. So Gizmo, please message me. You can message us over on Instagram at TotalBoat. We'll get a hold of you there. Just let us know that you won over there, and we'll get you hooked up with a Micarta kit. And the winner of the contest over on Instagram is JLV Innovations, and we'll get you a gallon kit of high performance epoxy. So Gizmo, message us on Instagram. And what was that? Give it to somebody else? Okay. Oh, I should also mention you do need to be in the States. You got to be in contiguous US. I can't send epoxy.
closest was without going over, no, it didn't happen. So it should be done today. Yes, 150.
Nope. It's the Price is Right rules.
Oh, all right, well.
I think well, no, then if it's not Gizmo, then it's Minster Hill Forge.
So Minster Hill Forge.
25 grams.
Yep. So I guess you win. You're off by 100 grams. It was 125 grams, but Minster Hill Forge, I guess you win. So shoot us a message over on TotalBoat on Instagram or over on Narwhal Labs on Instagram. That's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me. So shoot me a message over at Narwhal Labs, NARWHAL LABS on Instagram, and I'll get you a kit.
And then send us pictures of what you make with it.
Right, of course. Send us a picture of your finished Micarta. Would love to see it. And thanks so much, everyone, for hopping in and watching our Micarta live stream. I really appreciate it. I hope you had a good Makers Camp. I think we've got one more session for Makers Camp this weekend over on the Makers Camp Instagram channel. So go take a look at that. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great night.